here's Mark. So, pretty good body position and a pretty good extension. Breathing is comfortable. We talked a fair bit about the crossover at the beginning of the stroke. So your hands, while they're not quite crossing over, they're entering and going like, right to the center line, and then you're pulling on the underwater section of that. You are kind of crossing over as you pull through, or you were. So we worked on that in the session, if you recall. We also did some work with the kick on going from that straight leg kick, which is the way you're kicking at this point, to more of a a snap and a knee bend kind of kick. So what I look at here is primarily body position on the above water and extension. Just about everybody I do a lesson with has room for improvement on the extension, and that's something you work on through catch-up drill, one-arm drill. But just thinking about it as you're swimming, saying, reach and stretch my lat out as far as I can. You can sort of remind yourself by brushing your shoulder against your chin. If you're doing that, then you're reaching pretty far. You have pretty good rotation. So the rotation is not really an issue. And here you see the hand entry and how your hand goes, to the center or just across. So it's not going all the way across your head, but close to it. And then when you're pulling your line, you're pulling back there, that view actually shows that it's pretty good. So alright, and at the end of the video I have still frames, so you can see a sort of frame by frame look at your underwater stroke. What's going on here is that your right arm is initially doing a sort of high elbow catch, which is a good thing, and then it transitions to an elbow slip. The left arm is more of a kind of just straight arm pull, meaning that there's no different angle from your hand and forearm to your upper arm. And that's going to be the kind of key propulsion improvement that you can make. If you can get the most out of each stroke with a high elbow catch, aka early vertical forearm, it's going to be very helpful from a power and strength and propulsion component of your swimming. Swimming is two parts: streamline, and then how hard you pull or how hard you kick. In our case, we're trying to focus on the pull because you want to save your legs as much as you can for the rest of the triathlon. And here, just getting a view of where that hand's entering. You could see a little bit of the crossover there. So when you're halfway through the pullback, your hand was going across under your torso, and you don't want to do that. Your hand will rotate under your body to some extent as you're pulling. Now this is, if you recall, this is where you felt like really weird, like you felt you were entering too wide. But you see how smooth this looks? So a couple things are going on. When you are off to the side just slightly, your body doesn't torque side to side quite as much. So that makes you smoother. And then part two here was that you're extending well as well. But that looks good. So that's just thinking about keeping your hands a little wider on the entry. That's just thinking about keeping your hands a little wider on the entry and then reaching forward. And this is the same thing. Excuse the poor camera angle there. So very good. So your hand extends in front of your shoulder just off the side of your head. You imagine that there's like a cone in front of your head and your hand doesn't enter that cone. Or another way to think about it is that there's like a pillar that goes through your shoulder and your hand will be somewhere in the pillar range. So catch-up drill. This one's really useful for working on extension, and then part two to focus on the catch. So you're doing a good job here with the extension. And then that particular stroke was a good catch stroke. That one was alright. I'm looking at your right arm. Good. Looking at your left arm. That was good. Pretty good. So this is something that you just, practice. Almost every practice that you swim, you should do a handful of drills, 6 to 8 times 50s of drills. And the ones you're doing here are the ones that I would recommend as your primary ones. One-arm drill, catch-up drill. One-arm drill is a technique drill as well as a strength builder, because it forces you to focus on that one side. When you initially you'll start, you do a 25 of left arm, 25 of right arm. As you get stronger, go to a 50 of left arm, a 50 of right arm. You probably don't need to go more than that, but if you're feeling really aggressive, you could do 100 yards with one arm. You're going to be tired after you do that for sure, though. So 50s are good, and you're doing a good job here as well. You can see when you're viewing from out of the water like we are at this angle, what you want to see is that the hand and forearm disappear from view more or less. So if I can still see that hand and forearm as you're pulling through, it means that they haven't gone entirely vertical relative to the bottom of the pool. And then this is a fingertip drag, just to work on the arm recovery, keeping the elbows above the hands. This can help with extension as well, so you think about finishing the stroke and then reaching forward and extending as well as you can. So I wouldn't do this drill quite as much as one arm drill and catch-up drill, but it's a good one to include once in a while. If you find yourself kind of swinging your arms around, do this as a reminder of how you should recover. This is the arm recovery. Alright, so right arm, good extension, good rotation. Extension could be a little better, but almost everybody could be a little better. And then starting to see a catch angle right there. So that's starting to see a high elbow. And then the elbow's leading the stroke back from this point. So your hand and forearm didn't go quite vertical. And then your arm pulls well under your body at that point. So a little more vertical forearm and a little less pulling under your body with that right arm. And then pretty good finish, so you're doing a good job of finishing all the way through. Left arm, so entering and extending, and then you get pretty good extension, good rotation. And then you start the pull, and the hand and forearm stay in the same line as the upper arm, so this would be more of a classic kind of straight arm pull. And so this one you just work on a lot of one arm drill is going to be probably the best drill to get that high elbow catch with that left arm. And then not quite as much under your body on that pull through until you get to that point. So pretty good, a couple things to work on. I hope this helps, and we'll see you at the races.